All right, I think we're up. I think we're recording. All right, things being weird today. Page 242, you had numbers 1 through 13 in the homework section. Now, there were a couple of problems that said to use dimensional analysis. Hopefully you remembered from what we've done the other day, where it said, just do it the normal way. Hopefully you figured out a different way, though we are going to address that a little bit later on in the hour. Number 1, though, no issue there. 174 feet. How many yards do we get, Kirsten?
58.
All we have to do is divide by 3. Number 2, 28 gallons. How many quarts, Elaine?
112.
112. You have to multiply by 4. 144 ounces. How many pounds, Luciana?
9 pounds.
9 pounds. Just divide by 16. 96 teaspoons. How many tablespoons, Bryson?
32.
32. Just divide by 3. 12 bushels. How many pecks, Sam?
26 pecks.
Uh-oh, Sam. All right, I'm not picking on you, but I make a point to everybody in the class here. If you're not sure what to multiply or divide by on a quiz or test, you're screwed. There's nothing you can do. But on homework, you better look it up. You better not. I don't remember how many pecks are in a bushel. Maybe it's 3. I'll just multiply by 3. No, sir. You look it up. How else are you going to learn? Right? You've got to look it up on the homework. That's the whole point. Should have multiplied class by 4 pecks in a bushel. Sam, what should our answer have been there? 48. My bigger concern, you look it up. You find out. Now, if you make a multiplication error, okay, whatever. You just think backwards and you multiply instead of divide, or divide instead of multiply. Okay, we can work on that. But not knowing the conversion unit on homework, there's really no excuse for, because you can look it up. Quiz or test, we're hoping we remember them. Number 6, 240 tablespoons. How many fluid ounces, Ben?
480.
Now, you did at least know there's 2 tablespoons in a fluid ounce. You use 2, but if there's 2 tablespoons in just 1 fluid ounce, that means the tablespoon's the little guy. And so we're going from smaller to larger. We should have divided by 2 instead of multiplied by 2. And so should have had, Corey?
120.
Well, not 120, just 120. But yes, 120 is correct. Let me go back to Ben here on number 7. 500 years. How many decades?
50.
50 as we divide by the 10. Number 8, it said 20 gallons is how many quarts, and it said to use dimensional analysis, but let's be real, we don't need dimensional analysis to do that. We know there's 4 quarts in a gallon, so we can just get what for our answer, Jalen?
80 quarts.
80 quarts. We don't need to do any dimensional analysis stuff. And now number 9, it might help if we had learned dimensional analysis, but I think we can do this a different way. We know that a ton, class, is how many pounds?
2,000.
We know a ton is 2,000 pounds. So instead of saying 1 ton equals how many ounces, we could say 2,000 pounds equals how many ounces. In class, how many ounces in a pound?
16.
16. And we're going from larger to smaller, smaller to larger.
Larger and smaller.
Larger pounds to smaller ounces, we multiply by 16. I'm going to do it this way. I'm going to say multiply by 16 this way. I'm going to hang the 3 zeros. 2 times 6?
12.
12. Carry the 1. 2 times 1 plus 1?
3.
3. And so we end up with 32,000 ounces. How many? I can figure that out without dimensional analysis. 32,000 ounces. Excellent job on that. Numbers 10 through 13, practicing with your mixed measures or compound measures, so to speak. What was your final answer on number 10? Griffin?
70 feet and 17 inches.
Bryson?
70 feet, 11 inches.
70 feet, 11 inches is what we should have
I
had.
just have a raised area.
Oh, okay, sure. 70 feet, 11. I bet you're actually right, because I don't see any other way you come up with 17 inches. Let me come back to you for redemption, Griffin. What did you get on 11?
32 weeks and 4 days.
32 weeks, 4 days is correct. Number 12, what did you have, Michael?
3 pints and 1 cup.
3 pints and 1 cup. And number 13, as she takes her water bottle off her desk, Kirsten?
6 pounds and 5 ounces.
6 pounds, 5 ounces is correct. Was anyone perfect? 13 for 13 on the homework. Anyone just missed 1 or 2? 1 or 2. Any questions? Do we need to see any of these worked out? You say, I did not get that answer, and I'm a little confused what I should have did. Corey?
10.
Number 10. Well, first of all, we just got to add up the inches. So check your initial answer. The inches add up to 23 inches, and the feet add up to 69 feet. Did you get that initial answer? Okay, so your addition wasn't the problem. How many inches in a foot?
12.
12. So we need to take away, now we almost have enough for 2 feet, don't we? But not quite. So we're just going to take away 12 inches, and make the 12 inches become 1 additional foot. That's where we get the 70 feet, and that's where when we subtract, we have the leftover 11 inches. That make sense? Michael?
Can you just say the answer to 11?
11 again was 32 weeks, 4 days. Jalen?
Number 9, how do you do the dimensional analysis?
Well, we haven't talked about dimensional analysis yet. We're going to talk about that here in a little bit. But the point is you could do it even without dimensional analysis. There's a way to do it. Now, there's value in dimensional analysis, so that's why I'm going to introduce it to you this year. You'll actually learn it next year, as in you have to be able to use it next year. This year, I'm just going to introduce it. You're not going to have to know it for this year. Good. Any other questions on the homework? A couple things for you, if you would. At your seats, maybe have out a sheet of paper. I don't know that there's a whole lot of room to work right there in your book where we're at. But if I had 13 quarts, 13 quarts, that's an awful lot of quarts. At your seats, I want you to turn that into a mixed measure. Turn 13 quarts into a mixed measure.
Dry or liquid?
Good question. Let's assume liquid here. Yeah, good question. Let's assume liquid. So let's convert it into gallons and quarts. Let's turn 13 quarts into a mixed measure. Let's assume liquid, so let's go gallons and quarts. That's a great question, by the way. Rainbow. Question, Lane, or answer? You're ready with the answer. Got a couple other people ready with the answer. When we make it a mixed measure class, what do we have to do? Divide by
4.
4 in this case, because that's how many quarts it takes to make a gallon. How many times does 4 go in, class?
3.
3 times. But instead of leaving the leftover as a fraction and saying 3 1/4 gallons, class, our leftover just remains 1 quart. How many have 3 gallons? 1 quart. 3 gallons, 1 quart. All right, what if we had 5 weeks, 4 days? I want you to convert this just into days. Convert it into a single unit measure. Convert it into just days. Not impossible. 5 weeks, 4 days. How many days is that? So if you and some guy have been dating for 5 weeks, 4 days, oh, we've been together for so many days. Okay, how many days is that?
Seriously.
That wasn't my invitation to you. Junior high relationships. All right, anyway. Questions? All right, let's see. How many days, Ben?
39.
39 days. All we got to do, class, is take the 5 weeks, multiply that by 7 to get 35 days. And of course, then we add on the extra to get 39 days. Are there any questions on going from a single unit to a mixed measure, or going from a mixed measure to a single unit? Anyone say, can we do another one like blank? Yes, ma'am.
Can we do another one
Like this last one here? Let's say we've got 4 pounds, 7 ounces. Let's convert that to a single unit of ounces at your seats. 4 pounds, 7 ounces. Convert that to a single unit of ounces. All right, Elaine, what do we do?
We multiply 4 by 16 and then add 7.
So we multiply to get 64. When you add on the 7, you get?
71.
How many had 71 ounces? 71 ounces. All right, we good to go on these? Anyone need to practice another one taking a single unit and converting to a mixed measure? Got a couple people say, yeah, let's do one of those. Let's suppose I've got 34 feet. Convert that to yards and feet. 34 feet. How many yards and feet? Convert to a mixed measure. Luciana, what'd you get for your answer?
9 yards and 7 feet.
9 yards, 7 feet?
Yes.
Well, you're not Wrong, but 7 feet is still enough feet to make more yards. Do you see that? So what we're trying to do here, Luciana, is divide by 3. How many times does 3 go into 34? More than just 9.
10,
More than 10.
11,
11, right? Because 3 goes into 3 once, nothing left. 3 goes into 4 once with
1.
1 left. Right, so you're just dividing like we would have before. Now, if it said, class, 34 feet equals blank yards. Now when we divide by the 3, class, 3 still goes into 34 how many times? 11 with how many left over?
1/3.
1, but we're going to have to write it as 1/3 yard. We leave it as a mixed number if it asked for just the single unit. Questions on that? Yes, ma'am.
So pretty much if it just asks for 1 unit and you have leftovers, pretty much you just put it over the number
Right.
that you divide by, and if you reduce, then you reduce.
Right, right. So if we had, let's just say, 20 ounces equals how many pounds? Well, if it just wants it in pounds, class, we're still going to...
Multiply.
All right, we're going from small to large. We're going to divide by, class,
16.
16. How many times 16 go into 20?
1.
With how many left over?
4.
So we leave it as 4/16, or to your point, reduce to get 1 and 1/4 pounds. If it allowed you to convert to pounds and ounce, we leave some space, and ounces, then we say 16 goes into 20, class, once with 4 left over. So if you go to a mixed measure, you don't have to make a fraction. If you go to a single measure, then we may have to make the fraction. Does that make sense? Any other questions on that? All right, in your textbooks, I want you to flip over to page 248. Page 248. And I want you to do numbers 149 to 156. Page 248, numbers 149 to 156, practicing with mixed measures. Add, subtract, multiply, and divide. Working on this for several days now. I want to make sure we're good to go on all 4 of these mixed measure processes. As you're working, if you get stuck or forget what you're supposed to be doing, raise your hand, I'll come by and help you. students already finished. See, Elaine, if you'll go to the board, I want you to put up, take your book with you. Have you put up number 150? Elaine put up 150. Michael, if you go to the board and put up number 151. Is Sienna finished? Take your book, go to the board, do number 152. Jalen finished? Hold on, you two. Can you shift down just a little closer to the edge of the board? That way we can make room for a fourth. Jalen, let me have you do 153. On the front board. There you go, and then Luciana, come down. There you go, right there. Perfect. The rest of you, if you're finished early, I don't have more room at the board for it, but if you're finished early, see if you can figure out the problems at the top of page 249. Obviously, we're not going to use dimensional analysis, but I think you can figure it out without it. So you tackle those two problems at the top of 249 if you finish early. Top of page 249. Anyone need more time on 149 to 156? Anyone still working on those mixed measures? Take about another minute or so to finish those up. The rest of you working on 249 at the top. All right, for sake of time, pencils down. Even if you're not finished with all of these, pencils down. Let's take a look at our answers here. Number 149, there were some big numbers to have to wrangle with here. Initially, when you added these together on number 149, what did you get, Kirsten?
13 tons and 4,640 pounds.
Good. Initially, 13 tons, 4,640 pounds. But how many pounds would it take to make a ton?
2,000.
2,000. We've got plenty of pounds there. We could actually make,
4,000.
we could take 4,000 of those pounds away and turn those into
2 tons.
2 tons. Your final answer?
15 tons and 640 pounds.
How many had 15 tons, 640 pounds for number 149? Number 150 is on the board, and who did this one here? That was Elaine. And Elaine realized she couldn't subtract 45 minutes from 28 minutes. So she borrowed an hour, leaving her with 18 hours, brought that one borrowed hour as 60 additional minutes, which gave her really 88 minutes. She subtracted these 88 combined minutes minus 45 minutes to get 43 minutes, and 18 hours minus 11 hours to get 7 hours. How many had the same answer as Elaine? 7 hours, 43 minutes. Questions on 150? Take a look at 151. This one was 151. Michael. And Michael needed to multiply 13 gallons, 3 quarts by 9. He said, well, 9 times 3 is 27. And 9 times 13, 117. So he initially had here 117 gallons, 27 quarts. But he said, well, I only need 4 quarts to make a gallon. If I divide by 4, I'm going to get 6 gallons and 3 leftover quarts. Bring the 6 gallons over to get 123 gallons. Hold on to those 3 leftover quarts. How many had 123 gallons, 3 quarts? Just like Michael. All right, any questions on 151? All right, number 152 was Luciana. And Luciana needed to divide 97 feet 4 inches by 16. She found that 16 goes into 97 6 times. That's 6 feet. And then she multiplied. 6 times 6 is 36. Carry the 3, 6, 96 feet. That gave her 1 leftover foot. Well, the leftover foot became 12 additional inches, so she now had 16 inches. 16 divided by 16 is 1, and so she had 6 feet, 1 inch. How many also had 6 feet, 1 inch on number 152? All right, questions on 152? Number 153, just a straightforward addition problem, and Jalen added these together, 7 inches, 8 inches, I got 24 inches, added up her feet, got 23 feet, but she realized, well, 24 inches can perfectly become 2 more feet. So there's no inches left at all. Add the 2 feet, she got 25 feet for her answer. How many also had 25 feet for 153? Let's take a look at number 154. Ben, are we able to subtract 5 ounces minus 8 ounces?
No.
No, so that means we have to...
Subtract.
Well, but you can't. You just said we couldn't.
You gotta borrow from
Gotta borrow. There we go. That's always the rule. If you can't subtract, you gotta borrow. Here's the key though, Ben. When I borrow from the 17 pounds, how many pounds am I gonna have after I borrow?
16.
16 pounds. And how do I write that 1 pound?
As 16 ounces.
As 16 extra ounces. Now I already had 5 ounces here. So really, Ben, how many ounces
21.
I got? 21 ounces. Once we've rewritten this as 21 ounces, now we can do our subtraction. What did you get for your answer on 154?
I didn't.
Well, let's
I
go
was
do it now.
skipping around.
Well, let's not be sitting around. Let's subtract.
Not sitting, skipping.
Skipping around. Okay, so let's go ahead and subtract now then. 11 minus 8?
5,
11 minus 8?
4,
11 minus 8?
3,
1 minus nothing?
1,
So 13 ounces and 6 minus 4?
2,
2, and then 1 minus nothing?
1.
1. So we end up with 12 pounds, 13 ounces. How many had that answer on number 154? What do we get initially when we multiply on 155, Sam?
56 yards, 16 feet.
56 yards, 16 feet. But we know it only takes how many feet to make a yard?
3.
So we're just going to divide away the 3. How many times does 3 go into 16? 5. So we're going to get 5 yards, and we're going to have
1 foot left.
I'm going to pause for just a moment.